Hey everyone, welcome back to HD Reddit Reads, and today's topic is going to be on confessions. Let's get into it. I used to break into people's houses. Human beings are an interesting bunch. Ever since I was a little boy, I used to be interested in following people, learning their secrets. You can learn a lot by just going into the places people live. My cousin was an ex-convict, and he was a thief. He used to do home burglaries until he was caught by home security systems. When I was 16, my cousin started teaching me how to break into people's homes to steal things. My cousin ended up breaking his parole 6 months later, but I learned all the skills he taught me. I started breaking into people's homes from school. I never stole anything, I just went in out of curiosity. I would tail someone with my car and observe their daily patterns, making sure that I wouldn't be detected. I learned a lot of interesting things. My sophomore year biology teacher was a pothead. I found his bong in his living room. My vice principal was going through a rough divorce. I found gay porn on my gym teacher's laptop. There's a lot of sick shit in this world, and after seeing all the messed up junk, I stopped doing it. I've been out of high school for almost 10 years now, and I work a boring desk job. I kinda wanna break into some of my coworkers' houses, but I'm honestly afraid of what I might find. I used to pay my brother back with his own money. When I was 10, I remember my brother lending me $10, and when he asked for me to pay him back a few days later, I didn't have the money for him. He did not know this, so I went into his room and found his wallet, took $10 out, and went back to my brother and gave him the money. I was worried he would find out, but he never did. So whenever I owed him money, never larger than $20, from that point on, I found a way to sneak into his room and get his own money to pay him back with. I stopped once I started working summer jobs at around 15, and to this day he still doesn't know. We are both out of college. We have a great relationship, so my plan is to one day give him an extravagant gift that he so rightfully deserves. I used to give my patients cocaine. When I worked at a nursing home a few years back, I gave a few of the elderly cocaine. It started when I was normally making my rounds to the rooms to check on them. I get to Mr. Steffen's room, and I overheard him talking to himself about the war on drugs. I called for him just to get his attention, and a couple days later I started hanging out with him. I got him to tell me more of the stories from back when he was in the game. Eventually coke use came up, and I let him know about all my small experiences, and I told him I can get some if he wants. Of course he said yes, and let a couple others in on it. I just got them little half-gram bags, and it was our little secret for a bit. I stopped when I finished my online courses and moved to another state for my career. I miss the old fellow. Update. 2 men, 1 lady, all mid to late 70s. This lasted for about 4 to 5 months. I decided to call home today, and they are all doing fine. They are doing yoga and juicing to stay in shape, lol. I found out my niece was being molested, and I didn't go to the police. TLDR. 5 years ago I was visiting my sister and her family for my niece's 10th birthday. I was asked to make her a cake, so I was super busy. Suddenly, I noticed my niece acting strangely with her phone, and I guess my mommy instinct kicked in, and I snatched her phone. I found 30 selfies she had taken topless, makeup and bedroom eyes. Being a victim of molestation myself, I screamed internally. I waited till the festivities were over and pulled her mother aside, and was met with, "I'm sure it's not what you think." I died inside. Later that week I told my mother, and was told, "You went to the wrong parent, and if you don't drop it, you will destroy the whole family." I stayed quiet. Later that year on Labor Day, I went to sleep at the same sister's house very drunk on the couch. I woke up to someone having sex with me. I woke up with my pants around my ankles, freaked out, and drove home as fast as I could. I didn't tell anyone. I turned to even more alcohol and meth. I was an honor student in college and dropped out. My sister asked what was up, and I told her that I thought her husband raped me. He was the only man there that night. It ruined our relationship. I was ostracized from the family for being drugged out. Attention-seeking liar for 4 years. At the end of those 4 years, I was completely clean and had been. I got a call from my mother that my nephew from another sister was charged with aggravated molestation of the niece in question. He had been molesting her since she was 4. He confessed to it all. Then it made sense. He was there that night. Later I got a sobbing FaceTime call from my sister and her husband telling me they know what happened to me, and they were sorry that they didn't believe me, nor would I warn them what was happening. I hate myself because I could have prevented 4 extra years of torture. The family was torn apart. The mother of my nephew called my niece a liar and a whore at 10, and nobody but the mother of my niece her husband, and my niece know what happened to me. My niece and her parents got therapy, my nephew is in prison, and his mother is shunned. I don't need closure, my niece is vibrant, happy, and prospering. We gaze at each other in social gatherings with the shared sense of understanding and happiness, and I am happy for her. TLDR, blood isn't always thicker than water. My friends and I staged a hit and run to avoid getting in trouble for smashing up his car. Back in high school, my buddies and I were drifting around one of their neighborhoods in winter. Coming around the bend in front of his house, we clipped a fire hydrant. Luckily, it was just a plastic bumper that made contact, so there was no damage to the hydrant. We ran into the garage and grabbed a shovel and some garbage cans, scooped up all the debris-filled snow, tossed the full bins into the trunk, and left. The other guy lived in a townhouse, right next to a parking lot, so we did a bunch of donuts in the snow-filled lot, then parked. We scattered the debris snow all around the back of the car to make it look like someone hit us while doing donuts, hopped into the other friend's car, and left. We waited to tell his parents about it until later that next day. Because we waited too long, they couldn't file a police report or insurance claim, so we didn't send the police on a wild goose chase. He ended up getting rear-ended on the way to school a week later, so the car got totaled before the bumper could get fixed. I hawked a loogie on someone and didn't tell them. I got drunk tailgating before a baseball game with about 20 other people. We had nosebleed seats, so there were a few people around and we could sit pretty much anywhere. I was pretty hammered at this point and decided it was a good idea to try and spit on the floor of the row in front of me. I could have spit in a cup, at my feet, behind me, or in a napkin, or not at all, but no. I made the worst possible choice in that moment, with a woman I didn't know 4 rows below me. Turns out my aim isn't good at all, and I chucked this thing right in the back of her shoulder. Worst part is she didn't notice, and didn't say shit. An hour later a guy notices and wipes it off of her, and they both look up at our group to find out who did it. I had already committed to my terrible decision of running away from the problem, so I sunk into my chair like the piece of shit I am, and pretended to be interested in the mascot race. I didn't drink anymore. My cup of macaroni and cheese and gravy fell into some lady's afro, and I didn't tell her. I live in an apartment complex on the 2nd floor. I had left my cup of macaroni and cheese with extra gravy on my window still, with the window still open. My cat decided to jump on the windowsill and knock the cup out of the window. I quickly looked out the window and had seen it fell into the neighbor lady's big afro. She had a very big one that looked like it took years to grow. She did not even notice what happened. I wanted to tell her, but I decided not to because she had said mean things to my cat the other day, and she probably would have thought I dropped it in her hair on purpose. Gravy started leaking straight into her hair. She got into her car and drove to work like nothing. I always wondered who was the first person to notice the big food mess in her hair at work. I'll never know. I spat in my baloos coffee. Growing up, I was bullied to the brink of suicide by this one popular girl in high school. Fast forward 7 years, I work at a McDonald's. As fate would have it, my childhood bully came in to order a coffee. So when nobody was looking, I hawked the biggest loogie I've ever had and spat it in the coffee and handed it to her. She gulped it down and was none the wiser. I broke a kid's arm. So way back in elementary school, I was chilling on the playground waiting in line for the slide. The spirally one that's like 20 feet off the ground. And this little douchebag kid was holding up the line because he was enjoying the view, I guess. I got impatient and gave him a little push. He fell off the slide and broke his arm. I slid down the slide and got away. I found a lost debit card and spent $200 on it, then put it back in its original spot. 4 years ago, I was around 19 shopping at Walmart. I was buying household items for my mom when on the floor I saw a debit card. I was almost done shopping, so I decided to pick it up. I was broke at the time, so I decided to use it. I then simply put it back and moved on with my day. Nobody ever knew, it just happened. Dude, you caused a headache for the person you stole from. You may have made it where they couldn't pay a bill on time. You took gas money or grocery money from them. Yes, you could fight the charges with their bank, but the bank isn't required to give it back to them. Not cool. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing, and if you want to see any of the original threads, I'll link them in the description. And that's it. Have a good one.